Infant Enlightenment Transformation. Rabbi Yisroel Cutler, the spiritual leader of Chabad of Cary, North Carolina, guides anyone who has been searching for a meaningful life and conscious living. Join our discussions about the mundane, our daily activities, and then infuse every day with a spiritual twist from the inspired sages of the Talmud and Jewish mysticism, which many call Kabbalah. We learn from the root source of all religious monotheistic traditions and delve into the symbolism and levels of meaning from biblical stories.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. And the blessing on the bagel, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. And the blessing on the study of Torah is very relevant to Chanukah. And the reason is, tradition tells us that the Greeks, what bothered them the most, and I shouldn't say Greeks, Syrian Greeks. Ever see that? It's always the Syrian Greeks. Why? So just a little history. Alexander the Great, believe it or not, was decent to the Jews.
Right.
He was decent to the Jews, and he let the Jews live. Now, certainly there was a certain amount of influence that Hellenism had, but it was just sort of automatic. He did not bother the Jews. He did not invade Jerusalem. There's a story in the Talmud how that came to be. They were so appreciative of that Alex became a Jewish name afterwards. Or Alexander. That's what the Jews told him. In tribute to the fact that you spared us, we will name our children after you. And up until today, there's a decent number of Jews with that name. So that's just an interesting tidbit.
Cool. Very cool.
That's, It was after he died, and maybe others will be a bigger, history buff than I am, that his kingdom was divided into different regions. And one region was the Syrian Greeks, but there were other Greek armies in other parts. That's why throughout the Chanukah story, you'll always hear the Syrian Greeks, and that was the one that was the dictator that wanted to impose by force Hellenism on the Jewish people. But that only happened after Alexander the Great had passed away. But in any event, one of the things that bothered them was study of Torah. That was one of the no-nos. But it was specifically study of Torah that was connected to a sacred study. That's what bothered them. Meaning that the Greeks also appreciated, thank you so much, they were a cultured people. They did not mind culture. They didn't mind history. So if Jews were to study Torah as no more than another book on the shelf, so be it. If they were to critically study it the same way as something else, not a problem. But don't give me this idea that it is holy. Don't give me this idea. You ever see what happens if a chumash falls to the floor, a Bible falls to the floor? Tradition is?
Pick it up and kiss it.
You kiss a novel when it falls to the floor? No. So the notion of holiness of Torah, that is what bothered them. And this is actually, even in the prayer that we say on Chanukah, we don't have it in the text today, but it says that they forbade the study of your Torah. Yours as in God's Torah. So when we begin a Torah study and we say the blessing on the Torah, which acknowledges that this isn't just history, but there's a holiness to it, that is very much in the spirit of Chanukah in any event. So Chanukah happens 2,200 years ago or so, and it immediately is celebrated afterwards as a holiday. So it says the very next year they established it as a Jewish holiday. I can't tell you that jelly donuts started right away, or dreidel started right away, or latke started right away. Some of the traditions developed over time. Present certainly is a recent phenomena that was borrowed from some other traditions. Gelt was always Jewish. Gelt, money. And by the way, one of the reasons for that, I was telling my class, they liked this, was to educate children in the value of money, saving, giving. So when you give money, there's choice involved, there's education. When you give a gift, that's what it is, you know. Today, others will say the opposite. They'll say money is so generic, thought goes into it, But originally, it was Chanukah geld. In any event, it certainly has become more commercialized since then. It's become a whole Chanukah season. We borrowed a lot off of others. However, the holiday itself is although it's rabbinic, it's an important one. And I will say that we wouldn't be here studying Torah today if not for Chanukah.
Is it true that they say that holidays that will be observed when Moshiach comes is going to be the rabbinic ones, the Chanukah and Purim?
What the meaning of that is the other ones will no longer stand out because of the holiness of every single day. The other ones won't be a big deal. There's something about Purim. It says even more than Chanukah, Purim. But that's for another discussion. Why Purim? But Chanukah, I'll say that again. I don't know if we would be here today if not for Chanukah. And the reason, simply put, is there was only a small group of Jews that felt it's worth fighting to make sure that Judaism stays Judaism. I think that had we not had that small group of Jews, within a few generations we would have been Greeks, and I not necessarily would be here today. That's
destroyed and or assimilated.
Yeah, destroyed or assimilated. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is important to know that although today it's commercialized and today it's become very physical, it started as a very spiritual celebration. Okay, this is the key text in the Talmud about Chanukah, and when we study this text, and it's a famous debate between Hillel and Shammai, I want you to keep in mind when they argued about this. Hillel was born, 55 years after the Chanukah story. Okay? I'll say that again. Hillel was born 55 years after the Chanukah story. So it'd be like someone today discussing the Six-Day War. Just to give you, Six-Day War this year celebrates 50 years since the Six-Day War in 1967.
Amazing. That's amazing.
We're going to have a class, the JL line this spring will be 50 years since then. It'll be about that. But just, I know I feel old. Not old.
Yeah, you're making me feel old too.
But in any event, it's 50 years it's a decent amount of time, but it's not ancient history. So when we have Hillel and Shammai arguing about the Chanukah traditions, this was in the century after Chanukah. At that time, there were still different ways of doing the tradition. The halacha was not fixed one way. Chanukah does not get its own tractate in the Talmud. It's a few pages within tractate Shabbat. How do you think it comes up?
Lighting
Chanukah candles. Absolutely. It talks about Shabbat candles and which candles are you allowed to use for Shabbat. And then immediately afterwards, it talks about what you can use for Chanukah, and that sort of segues into the Chanukah discussion. Different than the other rabbinic holiday, which took place a few hundred years before Chanukah, which was Purim, which has an entire book. And there's some discussion why that would be. One, and we'll dive into the text in a moment, one theory is when they wrote down the oral tradition, they didn't want to write down the oral tradition. They only wrote it down out of a fear of it being forgotten. Chanukah was so fresh. It just happened. They didn't write it down until later in the second era where they had it in the Gemara in Tractate Talmud. In any event, here's the text. Again, 55 years, 100 years after the story of Chanukah. Judy, why don't you begin? The Talmud writes.
The debate had a light.
Here it goes. Yes. Our rabbis taught page 208.
Our rabbis taught the mitzvah of Chanukah demands one light for a man and his household. Those who beautify the mitzvah kindle a light for each member of the household.
No one does this today. Keep on reading.
And concerning those who beautify it, more than that, Beit Shammai says, on the first day light 8, and after that gradually reduce. But Beit Hillel says, on the first day 1 is lit, and thereafter they are progressively increased.
Okay. So we've done this text here before. What I find fascinating is I don't know of another mitzvah where all Jews do the supreme way of doing the mitzvah. Maybe in the old days it was expensive, it was hard to come across candles. They would light one candle in the house. And if you really wanted to do it well, depending on how many family members were in the house. Only the third way Do we say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? The commentators ask a question, by the way, on this Talmud. What do you think it is? It's about the third one. Meaning we have opinion 1. We have the basic mitzvah. Then the better option, it's like the gas station, right? There's regular, then there is plus, and then there is premium. So regular is 1. Plus is 1 per family member. Premium is increase every single night. So what's the question? Is 3 over 1 or is 3 over 2? Do you light 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 per family, or does every family member light their own menorah?
Well, some people like everything.
Well, one thought I have is that, because the first one was a nod towards expense, in part.
Perhaps. That was my theory. Could be. Yeah.
And so if you're going to say every member of the household needs a full menorah, if candles are still a precious commodity, that adds a lot.
Right. So the third way you would think would just be 1 per, So that's debated up until today. Some people have, I have a lot of people, a lot have everyone lighting. It's a good way to get everyone involved.
Well,
It's a beautiful way.
The problem is why we did it like 1 per person is because my kids wanted to light, so it would be a fight. So then by one menorah per child,
That's
and
easy.
everybody lights their own,
That's-
and there's no,
So that today's generally done, but I'm just pointing out that itself was debated. But this is a famous argument between Bet Shammai, or whether Beit Hillel, whether we count up or we count down. And today, again, those that have been to classes here are very aware of this, but the average Jew on the street probably is not aware that there was a segment of the Jewish population that on Chanukah would be lighting 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Which direction do you light it?
Oh, that's very good. Let's yeah. It's very good to review that every single year.
Right to left.
And I'll be honest, the rabbi, 1 year, made a mistake when he was lighting the public menorah. The public menorah. Now, afterwards, I excused myself perhaps by saying, well, it depends on which side you see it from.
Exactly.
From my side.
Depending on one side or the other. It's
But
true.
we need a refresher every single year. Let's do that right now. If this is our menorah, and there's 8 of these, we begin putting the candles on the right side.
So on the right side from the viewer's perspective.
Yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So on the first night, there's only 1 on the right side. The next night, yeah.
But you
But you
them
light
the
But
other
you
way.
light them.
The other way.
One second. Well, let's address
You
all
put
the
them
questions.
you put them in
this
from
way,
right
and
to
then
left.
you light them
So
down.
So
light
this is what it
the
is.
newest
You
one
light
first.
the newest candle first. So the first night you have a candle here,
Uh-huh,
and the next night you have 2 candles.
right.
This one's night number 1 candle. This is night number 2 candle. You always light the newest candle
Oh, makes sense.
first.
That's the special one we're celebrating.
That's tonight's special candle. That's a good way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you put them on the right side? Maybe because in Hebrew we read from right to left.
Well, aren't there
That's a
a
good
number of different
question.
areas in Kohaha
Because it's
where
right to do it.
the dominant side is preferred?
Amnon, you had a comment there?
Yeah, I said because it's right to do it on the right.
But yeah, Brian made a good
But
observation
also-
that many areas of Jewish law, we do with our stronger hand. However, if that was the reason,
I know it'd be
a
the other way.
lefty
Yeah.
would be doing it on the left side. And there are many mitzvot like that, where a lefty do it on the left side first. For instance, washing of the hands is a good example.
We do the right side.
We do the right if you're a righty.
Yeah.
If you're a lefty, you do on the left
Oh,
side.
really?
Yes.
I didn't know
Are
that.
you a
What about
lefty?
the
No,
3
I'm
steps
not.
from the Amida when you go
Ooh,
back?
ooh.
That
You know what?
could start with your left.
Well, and some.
Now Dennis is coming to his question, bowing, but that
Okay. I asked a question about when you say the Amida, you get those say shalom, you bow to the left.
Yeah.
So you're at, that's a higher level of prayer. And I asked why in the Kaddish you bow to the right first. The Amida, you're facing God, and the stronger is to the right. So when you bow to your left, you're bowing to God's right.
see?
But in the Kaddish, some Jews don't bow at all, but the Hasidic way says you should bow, so you bow to the right first. Okay. In reference to the left and right, Michael, the angel stood on the right,
Michael.
Gabriel stood on the left, so God says make peace in the heavens, so you're bringing those
Oh,
two
yeah.
together.
We need it today also. The right and the left have to, right? That's very good. Yeah, that's good. So that's a beautiful perspective. Amidah is just me and God. So I'm bound to God's right first. This is why we go to the left first. Thank you, Dan.
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, we put the candles in from the right, but we actually light the newest candle first. That's the easiest way to remember it. Light the newest candle first.
And do we know why we put the candles in from the right?
I've been doing it wrong all these years.
Okay, it's okay. You're good. You're okay. You're good.
Okay.
So when
That's
you put,
some, it's, I'm happy whoever asked, sometimes we discuss all the complicated things. It's good to know the actual thing. The other thing good to note is that we light the lead candle first, the shamish, then we say the blessings, then we light the other candles.
oh wow,
I didn't know that.
Say that
Oh,
again
wow.
one more time, dear.
Typically, in almost all areas of Jewish observance, the blessings come before the act.
And
So
the
we
act is
say
not
we're
lighting
about
the
to
shamish.
study Torah, Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah, now let's study Torah.
Or
We're about to shake the lulav and etrog. In almost all mitzvot, first comes blessing, then comes act. The one exception is the washing of the hands on Shabbat, or other times when you wash for bread. That's the one exception.
No, but
Two
you wash
exceptions.
first and then you say the blessing.
That's the exception.
Oh, that's right.
So here,
the
we're not
exception.
blessing lighting the shamish, we're blessing lighting
The
the Hanukkah
candle.
candle.
Correct. So
wow.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people light the shamish, light the candles,
No,
and then say
no.
the blessing.
you always, again, what is a blessing for? A
Well, they do
blessing
it
is to
before the
say,
shamish.
Judy, it's not the end of the world. What's nice is you say the blessing and you go straight to the mitzvah. So if the shamish is already lit, you can go straight to the mitzvah right away instead of trying to light the shamish. All right? So
Okay.
that's the ideal way to do it. Why is it that we always say the blessing before the mitzvah? We are pronouncing to ourselves that what we're about to do is something holy and sacred. The one exception is washing the hands. And the reason is, for anyways washing your hands, we might as well say God's name with clean hands.
Yeah. But
Or number two, Shabbat candles,
Yeah, Shabbat
in
candles you light
which we first light it because when you say the blessing, you're accepting Shabbat.
yeah.
So you
And then
want
you
to
can't
light.
kindle
So you
anymore.
want to first kindle, then say the blessing.
I'm gonna
So
have
it's
so
the
many
same thing for
friends in
Hanukkah
Gomorrah
then.
now.
And what?
Gomorrah, I'm gonna have so many friends.
Oh,
So, Rabbi, it's okay. It's the same thing like Shabbat candles, the Hanukkah candles. First you light and then you say the blessing.
No,
No.
not Shabbat. Because like you were just saying, once you bless
Shabbat,
Shabbat,
you light.
but once you make the
Correct.
blessing, you've welcomed Shabbat.
Right,
At that point, you can't kindle anymore.
right,
So
right.
if you had done the blessing first, then you can't light your
Correct.
candles.
or at
You
least,
light your candles and then you say the blessings
Correct.
for Shabbat.
but
And
in
Hanukkah-
almost Hanukkah and 98% of other mitzvot,
Okay.
first comes blessing, then comes the
Right.
act.
I think my guys know how
Matzah,
to do it.
lulav, shofar. Think of
Yeah.
all the
Okay,
things that
yeah.
we do first. So yeah, all right.
So again, what do we do about the candle again? The Hanukkah candle, light,
Hold the shamish, like be ready to
Hold the
light,
shamish.
and then say the blessings.
then light the shamash.
No, light
No.
the shamish,
and
say
then
the blessing, and then light the
And
candles.
the easy way to remember
I think my guys
is
know
the
how to
blessing
do it. I
comes
didn't
immediately
know how.
before the act, and the act is not lighting the shamish. The
Correct.
act is lighting the Hanukkah candles.
The only reason why there is a shamish, let's do that. Why is there a lead candle? And I know why is there a lead candle? Because one of the ideas of the Hanukkah candles are they were meant to be just for the mitzvah, not for any other sake. So in the old days, what do you think you did when you had candles? You read by them. It was dark
Right, right, right,
outside.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So that was the function of the shamish. The shamish was the candle that you could use for other things. So you could read with it, you could light the other candles with it, but you're not supposed to use the Hanukkah candles for any other purpose, even being the lighter.
Wow. Now, when you put the menorah into the window so everyone sees, where should it be? The what's on the right will now be on the
That's
left?
fine. That's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Correct.
Doesn't matter how they see it. It matters how you light it.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about the practical observance?
Wow.
I've got to speak to a rabbi about that. How she does it, I'm not quite sure.
All right. All right. So all right. So that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next text 209. So Hillel and Shammai argued. There are about 300 debates in the Talmud between Hillel and Shammai, or the academies
Oh, golly.
of Hillel and
Can you
Shammai.
imagine?
About 300 times they argued.
Discussion.
Discussion,
Debates.
and it's so different from debates today. So different. that it was about a certain truth. It was about issues. And
not personal.
Not at all. Not at all. They had tremendous respect for another, and they each were trying to come to a truth. And there is a recognition that people are different and people see things in a different way, as we'll discuss in a moment. But a few hundred years after Hillel and Shammai said what they said, what do you think Jews were doing? Arguing, why did Hillel and Shammai say what they said? Pam, 209. Ula was the name, yeah.
Ula said, in Israel, two scholars, Rabbi Yossi, the son of Avin, and Rabbi Yossi, the son of Zevida, argued. One maintains the reason of Bet Shammai is that it should correspond to the days still to come, and the reason for Bet Hillel is that it should correspond to the days that have already passed.
So Bet Shammai says we have 8 days left of Chanukah, 7 days left of Chanukah, 6 days left of Chanukah. Beit Hillel, 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed. Or
now this is the interpretation.
This is not
what the houses said.
These are this is what they believe, they thought. Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel said it. Keep on going.
But the other scholar maintains Bet Shammai's reason is that it should correspond to the bull's offering of Sukkot, while the Hillel's reason is that we increase in matters of sanctity but never decrease.
Now, what is the bulls on Sukkot? If you read the Bible, it talks about lots and lots and lots of bulls that were offered as sacrifices on Sukkot. Lots. You know how much they added up to, all 8 days of Sukkot? 70. And if you read the prayers, in a traditional Musaf, it says on this day they brought 13 bulls and 12 bulls and 11. Each day, it goes down. So what Bet Shammai says the same way on the holiday of Sukkot. This was during temple times. The bulls went down every single day, so to our Hanukkah candles should go down. Now, what's the connection?
Well, he's just doing a precedent idea.
He's just doing a precedent idea. But it seems that there needs to be a little bit better of a connection between the two, rather than pointing to another holiday observance that has going down. Beit Hillel says there's a rule: we always increase in holiness, we never decrease. It's an interesting rule. It's a halacha. For instance, if you use, let's say, I'll give you an example. You use a cabinet to hold a Torah scroll, you can't afterwards use it to hold even a chumash, because you have to go up in holiness, not down. If you start off using it for a chumash, later you can upgrade it to use it for a Torah scroll. So there's a rule in Jewish law that once something is used for a holy purpose, you only go up, you don't go down. So he says the menorah was lit with X number of candles last night. We should always be going up in holiness, not down.
But if you had multiple Torahs, and then there was a new congregation, and you gave them a Torah, haven't you gone from 2 to 1 or 3 to 2?
We're talking about the cabinet, the eye in the house.
Well, now
the cabinet doesn't house as much.
Oh, that's okay. If its use was to hold Torah scrolls, that's okay. It's okay.
But now it's holding less.
But another congregation's holding more. That's okay.
So that means a structure like a house or a building that is a shul should not be sold to anything.
That's an interesting. Go through New York and go through old areas in the Bronx, and you ever drive in the Lower East Side or in the Bronx, and you see
it's hard to see the shul go to.
That's another discussion, and that's.
But is that the case?
Another discussion.
Okay.
Another discussion. Good question.
You made the money holy.
Let's move on.
Okay. Now let's move on. So we have two opinions as to what Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel held. One said days go up, days go down. One said
the number of candles go down.
It has to do with, are we celebrating the days of Hanukkah that are yet to come or that have already passed? The second opinion says we go up in holiness or we go down like the bulls of Sukkot. What is going to be the reason for them? So one of the things that the Rebbe would often try to do is look at sages in the Talmud. And let's say they debate a dozen times, or 100 times, or 300 times. The Rebbe was of the opinion they aren't having random arguments in different places. But if you really, really knew Torah well, you would be able to see a common thread in their reasoning throughout. Now, that's hard to do.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because you'd think that that Shammai and Hillel are working from a basis.
Correct.
And they're consistent in their overall view.
Correct. Correct. The question is, what is that? So Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, people may be aware that Hillel was always soft. No, Hillel was always kinder and softer, more compassionate.
And Shammai was.
And we have many examples of that. We just did this text in the JLI, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But text 2 briefly.
Yep. It happened that a certain non-Jew came before Shammai and said to him, "Convert me on the condition that you teach me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot." Thereupon he chased him away with the builder's measuring tool that was in his hand. I was curious about the builder's measuring tool.
Yeah.
The same fellow came before Hillel, and Hillel converted him, saying, "That which is despicable to you, do not do to your fellow. This is the whole Torah, and the rest is commentary. Go and learn it."
So we discussed actually in the JLI how Shammai came from a perspective of, Kabbalistically, Gevura, which is discipline. He was tough on himself. He was a no-nonsense kind of individual, demanded a lot of himself and demanded a lot of someone else. People mistakenly believe Shammai was mean, Hillel was nice, we like Hillel. No. Shammai really thought it was a chutzpah to come up to a rabbi and to say, "Tell me the Torah on one foot." Chutzpah. What nerve?
Yeah, be gone with you.
Be gone with you. This person shouldn't get a. Now, why the builder's tool?
Yeah, that's his own issue.
I think we've had a class on that once before. In any event, Hillel only saw good. Hillel saw good in everyone who was chesed. We know people that no matter what happens, they see good. That was Hillel, and so Hillel saw that. So throughout the Talmud, there are so many times, text 3, I'll just paraphrase, there's 2 or 3 examples where Bet Hillel takes the stricter opinion. The other 297, Shammai takes the stricter opinion, okay? So they are arguing throughout the Talmud. In most cases, the halacha is like Hillel. And one of the reasons is because people were better able to appreciate Hillel. Just like today we can better appreciate Hillel. It took special souls, sensitive souls, very, holier souls in a sense to appreciate Shammai. Okay. But what does that have to do with this argument? This is not stricter, right? So how would you read, this is going up or going down, how is that stricter or how is that, it's not. So what the Rebbe did is took a few, the original talk of the Rebbe is about 10 arguments between the two and showed how they believe in something else as well. And the words in Hebrew are important. Koach, poel. Koach means the potential of something, and poel means the actual way it is right now. Koach and poel. Koach and poel. And what the Rebbe says, well, let's do text 5. Hal?
We find many arguments between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel where the fundamental dispute is this, that Shammai maintains that we focus on the potential, whereas Bet Hillel counters that we focus on the practical.
For instance, my kid came today, showed me a test. It was an 88, okay? An 88%. One way is focusing on, she actually did pretty well. In 88%, she actually did pretty well. The other perspective is what?
12%.
The potential. There is potential for
More.
A lot more, and Shammai would see the potential of everything. So the Rebbe actually said that Koach and Poel are actually related often to being strict and less strict. Not always. But the Rebbe saw this thread in many, many of the arguments. Text 6 is a very mystical text about it, very hard. I'm going to skip that right now. Text 8, it's a technical one, but just to give you an idea, in the old days, in addition to the laws of kosher, there was all sorts of laws of purity. You know that? If something touched a dead body, it became impure and you weren't allowed. Now, if something was still attached to its source, nothing could become impure. So if you had fruits hanging from the tree and a dead body touched them, it was not subject to impurity. At what point did it become subject to impurity? Only when it was cut off from its source. Okay, in any event. So text 8, just a very technical text. Hal. Oh, you read the last one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is, yeah.
Jackie.
This is a text.
8.
Eight.
I'm skipping around a little bit.
Page 260. Yeah, he's been hopping ahead quickly.
I've been hopping ahead because of time.
Yes, okay. Beginning with, when do honeycombs become susceptible to being rendered impure as liquid? Bet Shaman says, once one stirs it up by smoking the bees out or hearing it. And Bet Hillel says once one breaks it apart to remove the honey.
Okay, just one of about 10 that the Rebbe brings, in which Bet Shammai says at this point it's already potentially honey. Bet Hillel says no. Only once you actually turn it into honey, at that point it is actual honey. So in the original talk of the Rebbe, you could go through 10 different arguments throughout, and in which one goes by the potential of something, and one goes by the actual. One of the more interesting ones is the birthday of the trees. We celebrate today a birthday of trees on a certain date, which is Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, which is 3 months after Sukkot. Okay? 3 months after Sukkot. Bet Shammai says we have Tu B'Shvat 3 months after Rosh Hashanah.
Oh my.
The first day of Shvat, not the 15th day of Shvat. And the Rebbe says, because everything is potentially decided on Rosh Hashanah, and then Sukkot is more when we actually ask for the rain. So the question is, do we go by, there's another one, does it go by potential or actual? And it's fascinating how in this talk the Rebbe says, really, you could break down every one of the arguments that way. But certainly going back to the Chanukah story, we can see how, well, let's do text 10, please. Barbara, text 10 now, the Rebbe explains.
The root of Bet Shammai's soul is the supernal.
The supernal attribute of Gevura is discipline. Gevura is strength, yes?
And Bet Hillel is rooted in
Chesed is kindness and love. Keep on reading.
And Bet Shammai is stricter, and Bet Hillel is more lenient.
Mm-hmm.
Gevura is generally associated with concealment, while Chesed is generally associated with revelation. Accordingly, Bet Shammai focuses on the potential, and Bet Hillel focuses on the practical. The potential is the concealed state, while practical is the revealed.
All right. So when I say you got an 88%, I'm focusing on the actual. I'm focusing on that which was revealed, that which actually came out. What came out? That my daughter got 88% right. When I focus on the concealment of something, what's yet to be, that is going to be Gevura, which is concealment, so on and so forth. So now we can go back to Chanukah. Bet Hillel says what? How many days have actually passed? Tonight, 1 night has actually passed. 2 nights has actually passed. That is Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai is going to be the potential of something, what's yet to come, the concealment, and that is
how many days are left.
How many days are left? How many days are left? That goes and explains the first way of understanding the argument between Shammai and Hillel. What was the second way of understanding the argument? Do we go up in holiness, or do we go after the oxen of Sukkot? What does that have to do with anything? So the Rebbe gave a very interesting psychological answer to that, and we'll spend the last 10 minutes with that. Chanukah, yeah, question
But that
first.
interpretation didn't come from Shammai and Hillel.
No.
It came from scholars afterwards.
Correct. Trying to analyze a common thread between all of their arguments. You know, we only did 2, and you see a lot of them, you start saying, hey, there's something to this. You know, when you see a lot of them. Correct. So let's now take a step back and discuss this mystically, psychologically. And Chanukah is one of the Jewish holidays that is best associated with dealing with darkness, you know? We light the menorah at what time of day? Night.
Sunset.
Sunset or nightfall? Oh, another interesting halacha.
Sabbath.
Correct. Another interesting halacha. I'm happy I mentioned this. The Chanukah candle should light 30 minutes, should last 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Hanukkah is what?
Candles. The candles should last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I say that at least, at least.
Yeah,
I say that because some of the birthday candles
Or they'd be inadequate.
are not so good. And I this year switched, even these little kits that I gave out, paid another 15 cents for the candle box, and the candles are a wee bit longer, which makes sure they last. But they have to last 30 minutes after night. So you're right, you can light it from sunset, but here's the problem. If you light it from sunset on,
Then
it's got to
gonna
last 30 minutes after
40
dark. So
40 minutes or
correct. So actually, if you go to New York and you buy it in like religious communities, Hanukkah candles, you'll notice some of them are longer than the other ones. Those are the candles that are meant to be lit on Friday. Because the Friday Hanukkah candles are lit when? Sunset, before sunset. So they have to last, again, every night they have to last 30 minutes after dark.
But Shabbos candles aren't they lit after Havdalah for Hanukkah?
That's Saturday night. But how about the
yeah,
Friday
No,
night?
Shabbat.
We're talking about the Friday
Friday night.
evening Hanukkah candles
Oh,
are lit
you can't
just
light them
before the Shabbat
at
candles.
night.
So they're meant to last a little bit longer because they got to last.
Yeah.
Because sunset has not yet occurred.
Correct.
Another
Correct.
18 minutes longer.
Well, at least.
How-
at a dead minimum.
How do we get into this? Because Hanukkah candles must be lit at night. That's the mitzvah.
Yeah.
That is different than the menorah that was in the temple. In the temple, the menorah was lit during the daytime. Difference number two, the temple menorah was lit inside. The Hanukkah candles are meant to be on display outside. That's why we have them by the window or by the door. Because the theme of Hanukkah is different than most Jewish holidays. Most Jewish holidays have to do with the home. It has to do with making sure that which is in our domain is holy. Hanukkah has to do with what? Being on the offensive outside. There's a fundamental difference. That's why Chabad's very into the public menorahs, publicizing the miracle. It has to do with there's a dark world that still needs a lot of work, and it's our job to do that. It's different than most Jewish holidays. We don't say the theme of Passover is about experiencing it in our lives. Hanukkah is about taking it outside. So Hanukkah is about lighting up the darkness, and that is because during the festival of Hanukkah, there was a tremendous amount of darkness with the Greeks, and they had to fight it. So the Rebbe says Bet Shammai and Beit Hillel could be understood in psychological terms as well. How to deal with darkness inside of us. This is the last 5 minutes here, okay? We all have demons, we all have darkness, we all have issues, we have problems. We have an animal soul, and none of us, at least I can only speak for myself, are perfect. We're still a work in progress. So the question is, how to deal with that? So even in the last century, there's different schools of thought in dealing with a person's darkest parts, okay? And I'll put it in this way. Before we get to Hillel and Shammai, I'll talk about in this century, Freud and Skinner, okay? Freud was very much all about psychoanalysis, right? Analysis. Find out where is it coming from. You have to sit down. You're not just acting this way because something hits a trigger. You're acting this way because when you were a child, this happened. Or in your upbringing, this happened. Your mother did this. You saw this. God forbid this happened to you. You really have to get to the root of something, and unless you get to the root of something, you will never be able to truly overcome that problem. And that is one way of dealing with our issues. Hours and hours of speaking to ourselves or a therapist or a friend and trying to understand, why am I acting this way? That's one way. That's one way. A second way, and Skinner says, happiness is found in the do's and the don'ts. In other words, don't make yourself meshugah. Don't make yourself crazy. Don't make things so complicated. What do you got to do? Nike. What does Nike say?
Do it.
Just do it. And funny things happen. Sometimes when you focus on just changing your behavior, what will happen will, the other things will get settled by themselves. Whether 100%, whether 50%. But don't spend so much time digging all of that up. Just focus on the action. Just focus on the reality in front of you, you know. So what would be a more...
It's funny that Freud was Jewish. I don't think Skinner was.
He was not.
But Skinner is saying the purpose of mitzvahs. Just do it is
Okay.
more important than
Oh, well, if I asked you which one is a Jewish approach, you're saying just do it? I mean, is that what you're saying, Hal?
Well, you rather do the mitzvah than go, well, let me think about it. Let me think of the perfect way. And you never get to do it.
Well,
the doing is more important.
Okay. Is there ever a time to do the other? Of course there is. Right? So Hal, what you might be saying is, in an ideal state, maybe it would be nice if we all had time and we all had the energy and we all could find out where everything is coming from. And look, that is a Jewish approach too. Those that are studying Tanya know how that Tanya is a lot about understanding what goes on under the hood and realizing why am I acting this way and trying to get to the root of it. However, we can't wait, as you said, Hal. If we procrastinate doing good until we got everything settled, then guess what? We won't be doing anything as well. So this is something that the Rebbe wrote, text 11a, and the Rebbe wrote this in a private letter. I don't think the Rebbe said the words Freud and Skinner, but here goes. 219. Where are we up to in the reading?
For some, the
Yetzer Hara means the evil inclination.
May have contaminated his inner sanctuary, and he now wishes to purify himself and enter under the canopy of divine grace. According to Bet Shammai, the first thing he must do is to move away from negativity, to remove the evil from your midst. When starting out, the evil is in its full strength and therefore warrants supreme effort and abundant light. As the days progress, the evil decreases and thus less light is needed.
So Bet Shammai always is the stricter approach, and he's saying you got to get rid of all your mishigas. And in order to get rid of your evil, you got to, it's the hardest at the beginning. At the beginning. And so I'm connecting now the idea of stricter together with the potential. You got to look at not just the actual behavior, but everything underneath it. So this is the way the Rebbe is again, studying Bet Shammai and Beit Hillel. When the evil is at its full strength, you have to fight so hard. And there's an example, he compares it to Sukkot, and I'll skip that text on the other hand. However, the Rebbe then continues 220, 11c, Judy.
Beit Hillel, however, holds that first one must enter the canopy of holiness, despite the fact that evil is prevalent inside him. He should begin divine service by doing good things, and one mitzvah leads to another, ascending in holiness little by little, gaining strength until the evil is completely
So we do a
eradicated.
mitzvah and we feel good, we build on our successes, and the next day we do another mitzvah and another mitzvah. That's what Bet Hillel means. We go up in holiness. And hopefully some of those issues will go away by themselves. And even if they don't, guess what? We've made the world a much better place by us doing good. And therefore, what is the halacha in accordance with? What is the verdict? Halacha is in accordance with Bet Hillel, text 12. Halacha, this is from the Code of Jewish Light, the Code of Jewish Law. How many candles should we light on the first night? 1, so on and so forth. So on. Okay. Here he says only one per. This opinion was only one menorah per household, but many people don't do that.
What is about this?
Many. Either one's fine. Either one. We have all my kids light. In any event, I want to finish with a story.
Oh, but here when it says one should not light more, is that in reference to the number of candles of the night? But now that we represent those in the menorah itself,
good.
If you have multiple menorah,
good.
Well, anyway.
Good. What Brian is pointing out, it might be that the reason he says don't light more per candles is that if you have a bunch of candles by the windows, people can't tell what night of Chanukah it is. If, however, we have a menorah that is, this menorah is here, and then there's another menorah here, and another menorah there, it's on clear display how many nights of Hanukkah there was. See, presumably in the old days, people didn't have these nice little menorahs. They just lined up candles. And you can do that today also. You can just line up candles, and that works. There's nothing about having to have a menorah. So that might be the reason why the Code of Jewish Law says that. So that's a little bit about the laws, the observances, and Bet Hillel saying, just do it, and you'll see that when you do good, automatically a lot of the bad will go away because a little light gets rid of a lot of darkness. So happy Hanukkah, everyone. Any questions from anyone online, Amnon?
Nope.
All right. Very, very good. Happy Chanukah.
Happy Chanukah to everybody.
And for anyone listening, we have a menorah lighting, a public menorah lighting next Monday night for those in town.
Monday, I thought it was Sunday.
Monday.
The 26th.
26th.
26.
Oh, okay, you're right.
The 26th, Monday night, the lighting will be at 5 in downtown
5
Apex. So
the usual.
this one is Apex, not in Cary.
But it's the same one.
Same one last year. The mayor of Apex will be there, and this year we'll have a menorah carved out of ice.
Wow.
All right.
Carved out of ice.
You're tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.